Leadership, a simple concept that moves the world, writes history, and drives the lives of millions of people around the world. This is a story that celebrates our leadership and makes us proud of who we are. Today, Latino Leaders Magazine crosses the path of the same leaders we've been interviewing for more than 18 years, making all of us that work at Latino Leaders Magazine proud of our past and excited about our future. Latino Leaders Magazine is confident that we will continue to inspire the leaders that will write the future pages of our history. We have witnessed the enormous potential and value of Latino leaders. Now, Latino Leaders Magazine wants to continue to serve them by connecting these leaders and thus inspiring the future.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your host and publisher of Latino Leaders Magazine, Mr. Jorge Ferraiz.
Good evening. Latino Leaders is very happy and proud to celebrate for the very first time the Maestro Award in Miami. A vibrant city and community with lots of examples of successful and leadership stories. We are very happy tonight to be able to celebrate 6 outstanding leaders that have become role models for everyone. I want to thank our sponsors, UBS, Southwest Airlines, and BMW, great companies that have been supporting the mission of Latino Leaders of connecting the leaders and inspiring the future. Welcome again to the Maestro Awards in Miami 2022.
At Southwest Airlines, it's always been about heart. It's about loving people, about putting others first. It's about building resilience through connections that last. Because distance shouldn't keep us from being neighbors. It's about living responsibly and doing things the Southwest way. We believe the act of connecting starts with heart.
To Jorge and the entire Latino Leaders Magazine team, thank you. You and your team connect leaders and inspire others through your publications and events. Thank you for bringing us here together this evening. And to this year's award recipients, congratulations. Tonight, we celebrate you and your service to our communities and your many accomplishments. I'm Laura Nieto, and I serve as the Director of Community Outreach at Southwest Airlines. At Southwest, we believe in loving people, building resilience, and living responsibly. And we do that by partnering with organizations across the country to drive economic, environmental, and social impact. Through our longstanding partnership with Latino Leaders Magazine, we've been able to see firsthand how the power of celebrating Latino success stories can inspire the next generation of leaders. Tonight, I'm honored to recognize Ms. Tere Alvarez Canida, who serves as Principal and Portfolio Manager of Cito Capital Group, an SEC-registered investment advisory firm. Ms. Canida co-founded Taplin, Canida & Habacht, an investment management firm in 1985. At TCH, she served as President and Portfolio Manager, where she was responsible for the firm's strategy, investment policy, and managing client assets. With the help of her leadership, the firm's managed assets grew to approximately $12 billion when it was sold in 2008 to what is now Bank of Montreal. Ms. Canida currently serves on the board of directors for Kemper Corporation and as a member of the Investment Advisory Council for the $250 billion managed by the Florida State Board of Administration. Her work has earned her the honor of being named one of the most influential Hispanics in the U.S. by Hispanic Business, and she was inducted into the National Association of Securities Professionals Hall of Fame. On behalf of our more than 61,000 Southwest Airlines employees, it is my privilege to present the Maestro Award for Leadership to Ms. Tere Alvarez Canida. Congratulations.
The Maestro Award in the category of leadership in Miami goes to Tere Alvarez Canida, a fantastic immigrant story that hard work and passion and financial wisdom. Congratulations.
So I was born in Cuba. When I was 6, after the Bay of Pigs, my parents decided that it was time to leave, that the country was going to a socialist mode and they didn't want to be part of it. I was one of 4. My oldest sister was 9 at the time. My youngest brother was 1.5. The day I left Cuba, June 1961, at the airport, they strip searched actually my sister, my mother, and I. I had just made my first communion. They took the cross out of my book and threw it in the trash. So thus began my journey into this country. We arrived in Miami. My parents had no money. They had their education. My mother was a lawyer by training, but had never worked. My dad was a lawyer who had inherited his dad's corporate law business. So you get to Miami, 4 kids, a mother-in-law, no money, and different language. So you can imagine what my parents went through. And really, my parents, for the rest of their life, worked for us 4 kids. They taught us that education is the most important thing, that we had to get an education. We lived in a small town called Belglade. We moved there later on, and probably half of my high school class did not go to college. It was a migrant agriculture community. But again, I think it was a great place to grow up. I grew up in diversity, with diversity all around me. And again, thanks to my parents, they taught us that we're all equal, that if you work hard, you can get ahead. So they encouraged me to go away. I got accepted into Georgetown University, a School of Foreign Service, into their international economics program. And, it would have been a lot easier for them to let me stay at home or go to Florida school. Would have been a lot cheaper. But no, with loans and their help and support, I went to Georgetown, graduated, and then went on to get my MBA at George Washington University. So today, I'm working at Cito Capital, which is a multifamily office. So we're registered with the SEC. So our focus is really on families, making sure that there's a good path to multi-generational transfer of wealth. So it's different than the institutional business, but the challenges are the same. Look, there's a lot of, if you look at the world today, where technology is, there are things that are a lot different than when I started the business. But there are a lot of things that are the same. Again, knowing your client, listening to your client, listening to your team. All the things I mentioned in the institution or were relevant in the late 70s when I started the business are still relevant today. There's always been challenge in the world. Today is very difficult. And I think the fact that we're so divided, it's painful, but I think that we'll come out of it. I will come out as stronger. One of the things my dad, who was a very smart man, used to say is, the Americans, they bump their head against the wall, but when they're there and they're in pain, they're going to figure out how to do it right. So I'm hoping that we come together as a nation. That worries me more than the day challenges in the investment world, because you always have to deal with them. That's what makes investments so fascinating. When you come in every day, you have new challenges, different challenges, and that's never going to change. So it's what worries me more is how divisive we are, how ungrateful we are, and how we have to change that to make sure that we come together as a country. One of the things that I truly believe, and again, it was values that were instilled by my parents, is that you have to give back. And with my own family and my kids, I told them it's so important. You always have to give back. And the other thing is, you always have to open the door and help somebody through that door. So in light of that, I'm very involved in a nonprofit called Crystal Ray Schools. I don't know if you're familiar with the Crystal Ray Schools. There are a couple in Texas. We just opened the Miami campus. We have our first 80 students, our first class freshmen. It's been a lot of work, as you know, to raise money for any of these issues. We started the school was zero here. We were going to open the year that COVID hit, so we were behind 2 years. I've been on that board for about 4 years, and I'm passionate because I tell you, when you see those kids, you see their eyes. I was privileged enough to take a group of 5 of them to introduce them to, they work 1 day a week, right? So I took them to the bank that had hired them, and to see their eyes when they walked into this conference room and they were offered water and nice glasses, and these people opened their arms to them. I mean, it is so rewarding to see. And it goes back to my belief how important education is, and my belief that everybody, no matter where you come from or what you have, serves an opportunity to do their best and to be the best. And so those things take a lot of time. I am blessed. I have 6 beautiful grandchildren, and the oldest is 7 and the youngest just turned 3 months. My son has 3 and my daughter has 3. So I try to spend a lot of time with them. And I think, that's one of the greatest legacy you can leave yourself as your family. I've been blessed. I have great kids and have great spouses. I tell people you have to love what you do and do what you love. And I've always had the privilege, no matter how hard, of doing that. I live in a great country, and I will tell you, my kids laugh at me because I cannot listen to the national anthem without getting tears and getting goosebumps, because I remember coming to this country. So I try to give back as much as I can, and I feel so blessed to both for my parents having brought me here, and what life, the opportunities has given me, and the people I met like yourself along the way who've helped me. Again, this is a team sport. You need a lot of people. You need to be humble, because everybody's on top and everybody's on the bottom, and I just pray that I done the right things, and that will be my legacy.
What makes you get up in the morning? What drives you? Pushes you forward? That's what purpose is. It motivates people. It focuses them. And today, it's more important than ever. At UBS, we help people build businesses, grow ideas, buy homes, secure retirements, create legacies. But purpose is different. It's why we do things. We constantly reimagine better ways to help our clients do more, like developing funds that reinvest portions of profit into future growth. We bring people together so they can accomplish bigger goals. Whether that's connecting clients who are passionate about alternative energy, or introducing a tech startup to a global pool of investor clients. We take our responsibility to society seriously, with solutions that are sustainable and contribute to a fairer world. It's why we work with businesses to help in their net zero transitions. It's why we develop funds that promote female-led companies or strengthen diversity. Knowing why we do things transforms what we do. It's what makes us UBS.
Tonight, I am honored to introduce and present the 2022 Entrepreneurship Maestros Award to a transformational leader and true entrepreneur, Jesus Martinez Sr. Not so long ago, Jesus had a vision. He had a vision to introduce to the U.S. market authentic, premium Mexican products with extraordinary flavor, quality, and natural ingredients. After 10 years in distribution, Casa Martinez is already in more than 10,000 stores across the United States and globally in 10 countries around the world. Prior to launching Casa Martinez in the United States, Jesus served as president and chairman of the board of Grupo Marva in Mexico. The family's 80-year-old group of companies comprised of real estate development, construction, and food manufacturing. In addition to his entrepreneurial achievements, Jesus continues to give back to his native Mexico. He is currently serving as coordinator of the state of Sinaloa, fostering the development of the state by bringing roads and access to healthcare, education, and food to underprivileged communities. Al igual que Jesús, me siento muy orgullosa de ser mexicana y de poder compartir el cariño por nuestro México lindo y querido. Gracias, Jorge, y a la revista Latino Leaders por su trabajo y su compromiso con nuestra comunidad latina.
The Maestro Award in Miami in the category of entrepreneurship goes to Jesus Martinez, founder of Casa Martinez, a gourmet food company, a great story of family business, and a visionary example of how business can grow. Congratulations.
Jesús Manuel Martínez Buelna nace en el año de 1962 de una familia de padre, madre, una hermana. Crecimos en la ciudad de Culiacán, Sinaloa, una ciudad enclavada en el valle más importante de México, productor de hortalizas y frutas que dan origen a muchísimas exportaciones hacia los Estados Unidos, y donde la gran mayoría de todos los empresarios de la zona trabajábamos alrededor de esa gran industria hortofrutícola. Mi padre, agricultor, posteriormente comerciante, decide hacer sus primeros inicios en el mundo de la agroindustria, produciendo productos de caña de azúcar, piloncillo. Al final, la realidad es que siempre volteamos, desde que él era agricultor hasta cuando nos convertimos en incipientes industriales, al mercado de los Estados Unidos. Un mercado muy atractivo, un mercado muy interesante y sobre todo altamente consumidor de productos mexicanos. Debo decir, aparte, que México es un gran productor de diversos tipos de productos. La realidad es que somos un gran competidor mundial gracias a la calidad de lo que en nuestro país se procesa. Me toca vivir toda esa etapa en la juventud. Finalmente me voy a Ciudad de México a estudiar mi profesión. Estudio en la Universidad Iberoamericana mi carrera. Estudio mi posgrado en la Universidad Panamericana. Y bueno, hoy a mis casi 60 años soy candidato a doctor en Derecho por la misma Universidad Panamericana. ¿Por qué el interés de continuar en el mundo de mis estudios? Por una sencilla razón, porque yo estoy convencido que la educación es la base del éxito de las personas y de las empresas. En mi opinión, entre más educación uno tiene, más capacidad tiene para ver las oportunidades que la vida a uno le presenta. Pues mire, la primera gran decisión que considero que mi esposa y yo tomamos, con apoyo de mi madre y con apoyo de mi hermana, porque tanto mi hermana como nosotros, fue el educar a nuestros hijos en los Estados Unidos. Esa fue la primera gran decisión que tomamos. La segunda gran decisión que tomamos fue que al momento de decidir traer nuestra empresa a los Estados Unidos, siempre ser gente con productos de calidad. ¿Por qué de calidad? Porque simple y sencillamente el mercado de los Estados Unidos es muy generoso si uno le entrega lo mejor de uno mismo. Y lo que uno es lo que el producto representa. Lo que el producto representa es lo que uno es. Por lo tanto, esa fue una gran decisión, ser gente con producto de calidad. La tercera gran decisión fue crear un proyecto expandible. ¿Qué significa? Que no solo sea un producto que aspiremos que solo hubiera quedado en Arizona. Hoy le puedo informar que estamos en casi 12,000 supermercados de los Estados Unidos a lo largo de los 50 estados. La gente nos ha recibido, la gente nos ha abrazado, la gente nos ha correspondido a esa visión que tuvimos desde un principio. Y la verdad es que nuestros proyectos hoy por hoy es que habiendo iniciado con salsas auténticamente mexicanas, hoy hemos dado el paso a otro producto que son cooking sauces. Que estas cooking sauces están hechos para que el consumidor con mayor facilidad pueda preparar sus alimentos. Pero esta visión que tiene que ver de manera integral, también lo estamos queriendo hacer de manera vertical, porque no solo queremos estar en el mercado de los Estados Unidos. Estamos ahorita ya explorando el Medio Oriente y estamos explorando Oriente. ¿Esto qué significa? Que estamos trabajando muy fuerte para consolidarnos, tanto en los Emiratos Árabes como en Qatar, y que ya teníamos pláticas muy avanzadas para entrar a Líbano y Arabia Saudita. Desafortunadamente por la pandemia todo ha quedado en stand-by y estamos haciendo esfuerzos muy importantes para trabajar tanto en China como en Japón. Un esfuerzo al que le hemos dedicado tiempo y que esperemos consolidar a la brevedad posible también será Europa. Eso es lo que tenemos en el futuro, no solo crecer en productos, sino crecer en distribución. Ahorita, de hecho, en unos días estaré viajando a el Reino Unido, porque para nosotros es un gran mercado en el cual queremos iniciar. Bueno, pues la verdad es que en mi vida es muy sencilla. Mi vida no es muy complicada. Mi vida sí está formada en el trabajo, hoy en el estudio, porque estoy empeñado en obtener mi grado de doctor en Derecho, pero la realidad es que mi vida, el 90% circula alrededor de mi familia, de mi esposa, de mi madre, de mis hijos, de mis nietos. Es lo que yo acostumbro convivir con ellos, tener noches de familia y cuando la oportunidad se me presenta, trato de viajar. Me gusta mucho ir al mar, me gusta mucho conocer otros lugares. Eso es lo que realmente me gusta hacer. Soy bastante, y por supuesto, disfrutar de una buena comida con mi familia. La verdad es que yo vivo, le puedo decir que el 99% de mi tiempo es alrededor de mi esposa, mis hijos, mis nietos, mi familia en general.
The Maestro Award in Miami, in the category of Industry Leader, goes to a talented musician, a bright music executive, and a promoter of many stars in the Latin music world. Congratulations to Manolo Diaz.
I was born in Oviedo, the capital of Asturias in the north of Spain. And my mother was a piano teacher, and my father was a frustrated musician because although he was a finance person in the water company of Madrid, he was always playing the piano and playing the accordion and playing violin and playing guitar, playing anything that you give him, he makes it sound very, very well. My mother could only play when she has a sheet of music to read, if she couldn't improvise. My family, the music was always very present because in the family of my mother, all her sisters studied music. And in the family of my father, they had a piano and they didn't study, but they all played. And so the music was very present since I was a little child, you know. When I became a teenager, I bought an electric guitar and then I joined a band called Los Sonor, pop rock sound band, you know, that was very pioneering in Spain because Spain was pretty much behind in music at that time, you know. And we created like an important amount of followers that were following us up when we were giving concerts in the area of Madrid, you know, where I was living. Well, in Liberia, while I was working as a photographer, as a surveyor, I also was playing at night music with a lady that sang very, very beautifully, a black lady that was fantastic, that sang like Mahalia Jackson, gospel and things like that, you know. So I play guitar and she was singing with me in a hotel that night, you know, some Sundays of the week. And she told me, when I was ready to go back to Spain because my contract was finishing, she told me, well, when you go back to Spain, in your way, stop in Washington, D.C. Well, but Washington, D.C. is not in the way from Liberia to Spain, you know. He said, yeah, but there's going to be an incredible event that you have to be witness of it. And then I follow her because I have saved some money. And I went to Washington, and then I happened to be one of the few white people that were in that fantastic event where Martin Luther King said his speech, I have a dream. And I saw there Marlon Brando, I saw there Bob Dylan, I saw there John Baez, Mahalia Jackson. It was the most incredible and emotional event that I ever seen. And I couldn't sleep that night because it was very, very emotional, you know. And then I wrote my first song called Ayer tuve un sueño, which is Yesterday I Had a Dream, which was inspired on Martin Luther King's speech. In the 70s, the late 70s, I became an executive with CBS Records. They hired me as an executive to do A&R, to do artists and repertoire. And I wrote, no, I didn't write. I mean, I did the marketing of 7 artists. They sent me to Paris, to live in Paris, and then they asked me to make artists that were successful in their own countries but were not successful internationally, to make them internationally successful. And then they gave me a guy called Julio Iglesias, because they didn't know how to pronounce it, a guy called Miguel Bosé. They gave me Umberto Tozzi, they gave me Rafaela Carrà, Claudio Baglioni, and Nina Hagen from Germany. So they gave me like 9 artists that were very successful in their own countries, but not successful internationally. And then they asked me to make them international. And I was in Paris in that position for 4 years, and I really succeeded because the artists that they gave me, they were all fantastic, very good artists, and it was a very easy job to make them internationally. Julio Iglesias became a monster, and when I was in Paris, his success was so huge that I was living in an apartment in the building. There was a lady that was in charge of the building that was living downstairs, and then she was managing the building, and then she didn't know what I was doing in life, what was my profession. And then one night I arrived to my apartment and I didn't have electricity. So I went down to see her, the lady that administrated the building, and I told her, Madame Dupont, je n'ai pas d'électricité dans mon appartement. I don't have electricity in my apartment. Please, could you help me? Yes, I say, you sit down. I come back because I have something in the fire that I'm cooking something is going to get burned. I come back very soon. So I saw that in the table of her dining room. It was the record of Julio Iglesias that I was promoting. It was called A Vous les Femmes, to you, the ladies. And when she came back, I said, she didn't know that I was in the music business. She didn't know anything. And I said to her, good artist, this artist, eh? Ah oui, monsieur Diaz. Ah oui. Écoutez, listen. I don't have this player, this player. But I saw that man on the television and I couldn't control myself and I bought the record. So we sold the record to people that didn't have record players, which is like selling air conditioning in Alaska. Something like that, you know. So that tells you the depth of the success of Julio in France at that time. This past summer, I spent 2.5 months in Spain, in the north of Spain, in Asturias, where I am from. And also I was in Alicante, in Valencia, in Barcelona, Madrid. And I enjoy very much spending time there with my brother. I have one brother, and with my friends, you know. I travel a lot. I have one daughter in Germany with 2 grandchildren that live in Germany, in Hanover. And I have a son that lives in Mazatlan, in Mexico. So I have to visit them all the time. And I have another daughter that lives in Miami. But I mean, the ones that live in Germany and in Mexico, I have to go and see them every year, at least once, if no more. So I spend time doing that, basically.
The Maestro Award in Miami in community service goes to Don Salazar, president of CTI, a construction company, a man committed to his business, to his family, and to his community. Congratulations.
Our family's been here for over 200 years in northern New Mexico. They came up and they've been ranchers, and that shaped really what I am today. I tell everyone that we lived in Utah. We lived in New Mexico for the early part of my life, but then my dad moved to Utah to work, and they'd send us every summer, and we'd go there to work and work on the ranch, and no nonsense. No excuses. They didn't like excuses. If you had a job, don't come crying. If you can't do it, you just better figure it out or stay until it's done. And so that kind of transcended into my life as I got to be a junior high kid and a high school, and the Lord gifted me with some athletic ability. It was really funny. So I played football and wrestled and baseball and ran track. I did it all. So, our days were filled with activity and responsibility. I was always a construction guy, right? I mean, I was on the form crew when I was in 8th grade. In 8th grade, I was in there, and I wanted to do it because I thought it'd make you tough. They probably weren't, you know, in those days, they weren't real, the folks didn't monitor how your age, you know, if you were big enough, if you could pick up a form, yeah, go work. So, and that's what I did. So I was, you know, and I liked construction, you know, and I did it, and I did it all through college, all summers and everything else. But I knew early on that business was the way to go. And I had planned, you know, no matter where this road takes me, somewhere, somehow, I was always going to own a business, because you know, the United States is based on capitalism. And I'm thinking, okay, if we're based on capitalism and that's the way the world is, then I'm going to be on that train. I want to be on the train where, you know, because everything is geared to make this thing work. So they're going to give things to business that the normal average working guy wouldn't get. And so I found out early, hey, this is the way to go. So my plan very early on was to start something. I didn't know what, but it was going to be that. We started, and we started the construction company, and you know, me and one guy, and then the guy said, hey, let's bring my brother in. He's a real good hands-on, you know, in the field sort of guy. And he said, and he'll be part of my thing. And I said, yeah, let's go. And so we started getting more projects and more projects. And then I told him, and I'm going to grad school, and I'm coming up with all these things. I mean, I'm not kidding you, Jorge. We're sitting in a room like this. I'm talking to two guys. I'm saying, listen, here's our volume, here's the fiscal support, and here's the bonding. And I said, here's how we're gonna do. And they're looking at me like I'm nuts. He said, there's 3 of us. And I said, well, you know, so anyway, we started, and I told him, listen, if it gets too crazy, I'll leave the state. Even though I loved working, I said, I'll leave it. And it got a little crazy, so I left the state and my parole job. And, you know, we sunk into CTI, and I had all these, and we started getting bigger and bigger jobs, and yeah, we did good work. You know, we were all at the point in our life where we wanted to make a difference, and if we put our name on it, we wanted it to be the best. So we started doing this, and we were up at Hillfield, and we saw these trucks, and they were a Texas firm, and you know, I said to those guys, hey, that's going to be CTI. CTI is going to be on all those trucks. And you know, they looked at me like, I don't know about that. Hey, 5 years later, there were a lot of trucks all over the Air Force Base, all over there. And you know what they said on them? CTI. Family, you know, family is why I do. You know, matter of fact, that's why I used to work so hard, because I remember that day that counselor told me the only way I was going to go to college is to get a football scholarship. That's a lot of pressure on a young guy. I was going to say, my kids, I'm going to do so well that my kids are going to go to any school they want and not have to worry about who's paying, because I'll take care of it. Okay, that was one of the things. You know, I have a great wife. She's a great partner. She's a brilliant businesswoman. One of the hardest working individuals I know. But she's got, along with being a tough businesswoman, she's the most caring person you'll ever meet. You know, our family is close. You know, I know some of my daughters, and one's married, one's not, and my son passed away, which is, but he was a big part of our life. But they, one of the things they say is, God, do you have to call your dad every day and tell him what you're doing? She goes, no, I don't have to. That's just what we do. And in some cases, you know, it's kind of made them take a little pause because we're so close. But God, that's just the way it's always been from, you know, New Mexico. I mean, when I went to someone's house, I mean, it's not like if I needed to eat, I got fed. You know, we were just all in the same tent. And that's why that's what I love about it. As for the things I do, you know, I still love sports, watching sports. I love to golf. You know, I'm an outdoors guy. I love to hunt and ski and be in the outdoors and you know, but I'm okay with just going home, sitting around the backyard and having a beer, you know? I mean, so, but other than that, I mean, I'm really a pretty simple guy. I don't need much, but I enjoy life and what it has to offer. I'd like to be remembered as a hardworking guy that loved his family and cared about his community.
The Maestro Award in Miami in the category of Professional Achievement goes to Ileana Musa. A fantastic story of professional capacity, talent for people, and strong values. Congratulations.
So I was born in Havana, Cuba, to your point, and you know, it's a very interesting story because my mother's grandfather was from Barcelona. So he ended up in Spain. And then my dad's side of the family, his parents were Syrian. So they came from the Middle East to Cuba. And that's why my father was born in Cuba. So I was raised in Miami, but I was born in Havana, Cuba. We went to Spain at the time. We were exiled there. The goal was to really return to Cuba. My parents made the difficult decision to sort of split because my father's visa didn't arrive on time, and my sister was ill at the time. So my mother left with the three of us under the age of 5. We ended up in Miami, and really that first decade was all about reuniting the family. You know, there was this vision that we were all hoping to be together as a family again. But, you know, in spite of all of that, you know, very humble beginnings, we felt rich in so many ways. I always say it, you know, my mother was incredibly creative, had a passion for learning, was always reading, talking to people, and trying new things. And so this whole notion of continuous learning really influenced me at a young age to try new things. She'd always say, el no ya lo tienes, lean in and ask, because you have a 50% shot at getting a yes. And really, you know, taught us to be bold. To use the setbacks as opportunities to improve and to get better. And so, very courageous individual. I lost her 2 years ago during COVID, but she taught us a great deal. And so that put me on a path to do a lot of different things. I was a dancer growing up. I did track and field, did gymnastics. You know, my mom always said idle time is not good time. So she kept us really busy. And that allowed me to build relationships and start to play leadership roles. You know, I became a cheerleader. I did track and field. And so throughout my middle school, high school years, I had a lot of opportunities to start to play a role in leading others, which was a lot of fun and just very impactful in my life. Right now, you know, working at Morgan Stanley as a head of international banking and lending, but again, having a platform to lead this incredible business that I'm part of and at the same time contribute in broader ways. I co-chair the Latino Employee Network and helping the firm think about the Hispanic Latino strategy and how do we do more in terms of servicing the Hispanic Latino cohort and thinking about that opportunity very strategically. So I really enjoy doing that, and I really enjoy board service. It's one of the ways that I believe as Latinos we can drive broader impact. I sit on the board of the Girl Scouts. I'm very passionate about Latina leadership and starting earlier. And so I do a lot of work with my daughter, who's also a Girl Scout, and that's a lot of fun. So board service for me is something I want to continue to pursue. Probably write a book, open a restaurant. I love the kitchen. There's so many stories. Just as I got to learn, meet my family in Cuba when I started to go back, experiences between my daughter and her great-grandmother that were 100 years apart. Every time I'd get these two women together, it was just, I was just in awe watching, hearing the stories, and then making those connections, generation after generation. You want to keep that family history alive. And that's really the foundation for my legacy, which is, to help instill a sense of purpose and passion in Latinos and Latinas, to know that they have what it takes to really build a foundation that allows them to have a very purposeful life where they can be happy and also impact the lives of others. One of the things I'm most grateful for throughout my journey is at a very early age, I learned about the importance of giving back. Even though we were focused on so many things and getting by, and my mother always had a philosophy of giving back. Whether it was, the care packages we had to prepare every single month to send to our family in Cuba. My girlfriends who came after school who were wondering whether they were going to have dinner, and my mother always had an open door policy in terms of bringing others in. Just so many stories of giving back, and that instilled an immense sense of responsibility, and it's something that it's inherent in everything I do. And so I want to continue to instill that in my daughter, Annabella. My husband and I, at this stage, want to do so much more with her. We just wrote a film about our journey with her that my husband's producing next year. And so family time, really important, while I continue to drive broader impact.
In partnership with BMW, Latino Leaders is proud to present the Maestro Award in Miami in the category of Ultimate Drive to Carolina Vieira. A great story of dreams, hard work, and passion for what she does. Congratulations.
Hola, mi gente. My name is Janeidi Velasquez, and I'm here on behalf of BMW North America to present Carolina M. Vieira with BMW's Ultimate Drive Award for her commitment within the Latino community. Carolina, thank you so much for being such a grand pillar within the Latino community by providing services within the healthcare and energy industries. Your hard work has not gone unnoticed, and we applaud and wish you continued success. Thank you, Latino Leaders Magazine, for a continued partnership and for allowing us this honor to present Carolina with the award.
Family is first, right? To me, they're my north, mi brújula. Raised in Ecuador. I was born in Guayaquil, Ecuador. If you haven't been, please let me know and I can host you. But it's a beautiful country filled with a lot of empathetic and also hardworking people, just like our community, right? The Hispanic, the Latinx community. My mom, my dad, that's what I define my identity, my superpower. It's that, my identity, my family, who I am. I have a brother. His name is Johnny. He's almost like a child to me. 10 years different, 10 years apart. So you can imagine. I was a mom when I was 15 years old. But just a regular child. I must say that my mom was a very important figure in my life, the women in my family, because it was very female-driven. My grandma was obviously the one leading the way always. So I grew up knowing that you have a lot of responsibility by being a woman. I never felt like my family treated me like a child. I was always part of conversations, and they were always interested in understanding how I felt and my vision for the future. So I went to school there, went to high school, regular student, trying to learn other languages, driven by my dad's drive. He always wanted us to be better than who he was. And he grew up very, very poor, so limited opportunities. So I think I try to take advantage of every opportunity that I have, and at the same time do good and represent my family, my community, my country, the U.S. I always say I'm 100% Hispanic and 100% American, and I don't take that for granted. I represent people, and I carry that on my shoulders, and it's a pleasure for me to do that. I always knew that I wanted to do something that had value, that added value to the lives of people. So I started working. I graduated with a degree in finance and accounting because I love numbers. Somehow I don't know, numbers tell a story, and I'm very good with those numbers. And I wanted to use that, but somehow connected to giving back and doing something that it's good for humanity. So I found a way to work in the renewable energy industry, and that allowed me to understand, okay, what about the environment? All the decisions that we make are not only based on financial needs, but also the future generations and, the lives of others. So I started there, and then I decided I'm done with Buffalo, New York. I can't deal with the cold anymore. So I decided I'm gonna move to Miami. And the next big industry that it was worth exploring to me, it was healthcare. Healthcare truly opened my eyes to the real impact on people. Just especially with the older adults, when you are with them, just knowing that you can have a conversation with them changes their lives, right? Sometimes they just need a hand to hold or somebody to tell them, hey, I hear you, I'm here for you. And that really elevates them. That really changes their whole perspective. So I was very appreciative to work in that industry. And even though I was still dealing with numbers, I had the opportunity to visit different centers and meet people and meet patients and meet our members and understand that the work that we do in healthcare goes beyond the walls. It goes into their lives. It goes into their families. You become part of their support system. So it's understanding that no matter what role we play, in whatever job we are, in whatever company we are, everything that we do has an impact on people and has really a big meaning. And I enjoy, and I think I find success in knowing that I'm part of something bigger than just me or just certain number of people. It's something bigger. So I'm always trying to do things that align with that. That's part of my values. I mean, it has to be about, we're all interconnected, and it has to be about how can what I do help others, help improve their lives, live better lives. What do I talk about? From my 9 to 5, I know I set an example by doing what I do with passion and knowing whose lives I'm touching. But from my 5 to 12 a.m., 1 a.m., 2 a.m., it's, okay, what am I doing to elevate others, to open doors for others? Am I helping mentoring somebody? Am I sponsoring somebody? Am I talking about someone that it's part of my team and it's going to help them become better versions of themselves? So it's all about that. To me, it's about how can I serve others, but not forgetting that I also need to be happy. I also need to be respected. I have to respect myself. I have to love myself to be able to love others. And it does come, at the end of the day, it does come for me personally, all about love, all about loving humanity, loving others, and loving myself. I have 2 children, so they keep me not that busy. They're teenagers, so they're on their own. They don't need me at times, I guess. But I know they love me. I know that, and I love them too dearly. But I love to travel, and I love connecting with people when I travel. I love to try, their food, understand their culture, understand their music. So I love to do that quite a bit. That's like my biggest thing. I love food. Who doesn't love food? That's why I don't lose weight. It's so annoying, but I love food. And I love to try different types of food, like French or, I don't know, I'm dreaming of going to Turkey, so hopefully I get to try their food. But I love wine. So I've never been to Napa. I'm hoping that someday I visit Napa, but I know there's beautiful wineries everywhere else. I like Malbec. So those type of things, it doesn't require a whole lot. I know it sounds like pretty boring, but it's things that I think more than anything, I enjoy the little things. I appreciate the little things because that's what makes everything more special. If you're grateful for the little things, I think when big things like this come to you, it's like, whoa, I get to appreciate them more.
Alvin Toffler, adelantado a su época, amigas y amigos, en el año de 1970 dejó en claro que iba a haber un shock en el futuro, y así se llama su obra además, el shock del futuro. Ustedes, amigas y amigos, ganadores hoy, esta noche, reciban de mí el mayor de los reconocimientos, y también para ti, mi estimado Jorge, por dirigir Latin Leaders y por toda la influencia que están generando en más de una década aquí en la Unión Americana. Como ustedes, Alvin Toffler no predijo, compartió ideas muy claras, muy precisas de lo que él sostenía que iba a ser el futuro. Comparto rápidamente 3 de ellas con ustedes en esta gran noche. Primero, el hecho de que nuestro futuro iba a ser áptico. ¿Qué es la áptica? La áptica es simple y sencillamente la relación como hoy vamos a tener hacia el futuro con las cosas, con metaversos, con los óculos, con esos lentes, con trajes especiales que nos van a hacer sentir esas sensaciones como si estuviéramos a lo mejor en un maratón o tal vez caminando en la luna, o bien incluso con botas especiales para tener la sensación de que vamos escalando el Everest, e incluso a lo mejor hasta con una máscara que nos haga sentir el esfuerzo tan importante que hace el cuerpo humano, 8,000 metros de altura. Segundo punto que Toffler dejó claro, el estrés que iba a vivir la humanidad en este momento por tanta información. Estamos en una era de cambios trascendentales, radicales, únicos. Hoy lo que vibra, hoy lo que viene es la economía sintética, amigas y amigos. ¿Y qué es la economía sintética? Lo que todos nosotros vamos a tener que entrar de lleno, astutamente, para poder empezar a dirigir nuestras organizaciones como nunca antes lo habíamos hecho. Porque esto se liga al tercer punto que Toffler establece, que es aprender y reaprender. Aprender y reaprender. Toffler escribe esta obra en el año 1970, amigas y amigos, y nos da una lección importantísima hoy, en 2022, 52 años después. Si no tenemos la capacidad de desaprender, nos vamos a quedar. Hoy las nuevas generaciones nos están dando demasiada información. Hoy, incluso al futuro, estamos a punto de ver desaparecer los celulares. Y hoy el Google tal vez educa más que un padre, que es una desgracia, pero esa es la realidad. Reitero, Latin Leaders, siéntanse orgullosos esta noche por estar aquí presentes. Yo soy el doctor Osvaldo Reyes y me congratulo por compartir hoy la mesa, el recinto, con todas ustedes y con todos ustedes. De verdad, mi agradecimiento y de verdad mi respeto por todo el esfuerzo que hacen día a día por liderar las organizaciones de las cuales son parte. Pero jamás perdamos de vista que también está en nuestras manos ir hacia ese futuro, ir hacia esa economía sintética, ir hacia esas nuevas concepciones digitales, inteligencia artificial y realidad aumentada que están enfrente de nosotros. Felicidades para todos ustedes. Gracias, Jorge, por la invitación. Felicidades a Latin Leaders y a todos ustedes esta noche. Congratulations.
This has been a great occasion to celebrate leadership. We just witnessed 6 fantastic stories of leadership. Stories that should have inspired us and motivated us to keep going and keep advancing as a community. I'm Jorge Ferraez, publisher of Latino Leaders Magazine, and on behalf of my staff and our organization, congratulations to all the awardees. Thank you all for being with us, and thank you to our sponsors, BMW, Southwest Airlines, and UBS, for their support. Thank you very much. Have a good night.